Hi students, welcome to Module 4. I wanted to begin first by reflecting on Maria's video. She did a great job introducing Module 4. What I'm proposing to do here is to talk about the cataloging. So if you have any questions, I can hopefully give you some direction. And then if you have questions later, you're welcome to contact me. Module 4 involves the cataloging. It's a cataloging module. It involves chapters 4 and 5 in the Houston book. All right, so let's go to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is Subject Cataloging Principles and Procedures. I want to go to the assignments, and actually in this particular module, it's a cataloging discussions and cataloging exercises. So let's take a look at the discussions first. You're going to be talking about numbers 1 and 2 in the discussion questions. The first one, you're going to be comparing the differences between a controlled vocabulary such as Sears. I have 2 Sears editions up here, the 15th edition and the 19th edition. Sears is, or Sears list of subject headings, and this is what most K-12 librarians use to do subject headings. Now, let's back up just a little bit, because collections involves your ordering books from vendors. So when those vendors send the books to you, generally they will send the MARC records as well. Sometimes you have to pay for them, sometimes they're free with the books. But a lot of times you need to do a little bit of editing in the MARC records, possibly even beyond adding things like ownership and so forth. So that's where cataloging comes in. And one of the things that you'll want to look at or want to use is the Sears subject headings editions. Okay, now I have print editions, and these are older ones. This is the 15th and this is the 19th. At this point in time, we're in the 20s. So these are older editions, but there is now online Sears list of subject headings. And so you may, if you have access to that, that would be really good to use as well. One of the things I want you to notice about this one, as I hold it up, you can see that there's a lot of tags sticking off to the side, okay? There's been a lot of additions. And generally when you add subject headings, your own subject headings, you're going to want to record them in a Sears book, or otherwise you could do it online as well. So let me talk a little bit about that, because the questions here, the discussion questions, are about Sears and subject headings. Differences between controlled and uncontrolled or natural language. So you want to think about that and think about what that would mean as far as your students, and particularly in light of reading the information in chapter 4. All right, the second question talks about using subject headings, Sears subject headings, as a way of teaching strategy or a search strategy to assist English language learners. Okay, so using that controlled language versus, as they say in that one, natural language. And natural language would be English, or possibly even their native language. Okay, and so those are some things you need to think about after reading this as well. All right, the exercises, and there are 2 different exercises here. You're going to be working on, actually there are only 2, numbers 1 and 2. All right, number 1 is subject cataloging, and they want you to give it a try. And what they're asking you to do is to take a book that you've recently purchased, either that is on your collections list or that you perhaps got in your library during this last year. Go to the title page and look on the back of the title page. The back of the title page is called the verso. Okay, on the back of the title page, what you will find is the SIP information. Now, SIP information is cataloging and publishing information, and it's put there by the Library of Congress. And so you want to take a look at that information, and you'll have subject headings here. Now, the subject headings that are in the SIP information are LC authorities, or LC subject headings. So you're going to want to go to Library of Congress, to the LC authorities, and look up those subject headings. Then use the Sears. You can either use of a printed volume like I have here, or go online to the online Sears and look up the same subject headings or similar in Sears and compare and contrast. Okay, that's what that particular one is all about. All right. Now, the other thing you want to know about Sears is this, and I sort of hinted at it in this Sears edition, but in the Sears, when you turn to basically any page in the Sears, you will see subject headings, but then you will see a number after the subject heading. That number is a Dewey number coming from DDC, or Dewey Decimal Cataloging or classification. So the next step then is to check out that number in the classification, the DDCs. And that really gets into sort of bridges from 4 to 5, okay? So what you want to do in number 2, in exercise number 2, is to pick one of the descriptions here. And there are 9 different descriptions. The directions say to pick from the following, one item description. And so that's, again, that's what you want to do. Pick one item description and identify the appropriate Sears subject headings for that and the Dewey classification. All right, and then in an analysis, cite the Sears subject headings from here and the DDC Sears assigns to the item. Okay, so in other words, look at that number in the Sears and check it out in DDC. Okay, now these DDC ones that I have here, this is DDC 22, are again older versions. All right, the newer versions are past 22, and you may even have access to the online, which would be great. So check the numbers out in there. Now, do you always have to put that book exactly where the Sears tells you to, or that they have in here? Okay, in other words, the number that you see here, Central Africa, okay, the number they have assigned is 967, right? You don't, and that's one of the reasons you're going to check it in the DDC, because you may very well want to put that elsewhere in your library. However, when you do that, you're going to need to justify that decision. So again, that's why you're going to go through the process of looking at the numbers in here, check the numbers in DDC, and you also want to check them in LC authorities, okay? And make sure that's exactly where you want to put it, right? So that's a little bit about the discussion and assignments or exercises in Chapter 4. All right, going to Chapter 5 now. Chapter 5 is Subject Classification Rules and Procedures. Now, subject classification refers to DDC, Dewey Decimal Classification, in a K-12 school. So you want to read this chapter as well. And one of the things that you will see in this chapter on page 56 is a step-by-step classification, step-by-step. Look, make sure you look through that, all right? Because those are steps that you are going to want to follow as you determine the subject and where it belongs on the shelf, and that's the classification. Across the page, on page 57, what you will see also is a table, table 5.3. And what the table does is to take that step by step and put it in a chart form. Now the chart form is very nice to illustrate your thinking and what you're talking about, because the first column is the steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. The second column is the actions. What did you do? Okay, in step 1, what did you do? And then the final one is the result. What was your decision? Okay, so that's a very logical way to go through this process of assigning the subject so your patrons can look up the different materials they want to see what you have in your card catalog, and then to classify so they can then find those on the shelf. All right, so subject cataloging and classification go hand in hand so that your patrons can find what they need and then find it physically on the shelf. All right, let's take a look at the exercises in chapter 5. All right, the only exercise that you are to go to is, there's only one, number 1, and that is to create a classification number. And what they have given you is 10 different book titles. So you're going to select one of those from the list and classify it. So you'll need to first decide, is that book fiction, nonfiction, biography? Once you have made that decision, then you're going to go on from there and classify that. So you're going to want to look it up in Sears, either in the books or online. After you do that, that'll give you some idea of where it's going to fall, what class it's going to fall in as far as Dewey. But then go to Dewey and check it out, because Dewey gets a lot more specific, particularly these volumes get a lot more specific than the Sears does as far as classification. All right, and figure out your classification from there. Now, let me talk just a little bit about the Dewey volumes. Okay, a set of Dewey volumes is 4 volumes. All right, please make sure if you have a set, you have all 4. Okay, volume number 1 is where the tables are located, and frequently when you're using 2 and 3, it may refer you to a table in volume 1. So you need to make sure you have all these. Volume 2 is 000 through 599. Okay, then volume 3 is 600 through 999. Okay, so they're divided into 2 sections. The last volume here is the index. So if you can't find something, look in the index. It will refer you to one of the other volumes as well, so that you'll be able to find what you need. All right, so subject headings, classification go hand in hand. They allow you to assist your patrons to, first of all, look things up in the card catalog and find them, and then find those items that they located in the card catalog on the shelf, and then that's Dewey. So they go hand in hand. All right. That's just a really brief overview of chapters 4 and 5. So, if you have any questions, if you have any problems, please feel free to contact me. You can use text, email, or give me a call, and I will be happy to assist you and hopefully answer your questions. All right. Good luck as you work through chapters 4 and 5 in Module 4. Thank you.